Good morning. Good morning, sunshines. Good morning, YouTube. Hey. All right, let me get my things together over here. While I do that, I'll see y'all in about 2 minutes. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I feel really good this morning. So I gave you guys like a little update last weekend. Life is lifing, work is wonderful, and I feel good. So, yes, was it a stressful week like all the other ones? Yes, but I've been there some months now, and I think, you know, this avatar, all of me, all of the things, we are adjusting finally. The Christmas, winter, New Year break helped, and I'm in a really good place. And so I'm ready to come live. I'm not ready to get back into the We All Deserve to Be Togethers yet because I'm trying to still decide if I want to do those live or if I want to do those as an upload. If I do them as an upload, those are a bit more time consuming because I will have to do the research, then record it, then edit it, then upload it. Yeah, that's a lot in my brain, and it just stopped thinking after the 4-step process pause. But the coming live to get to this my elevation station stuff, I absolutely love doing it. I have a hard time reading books by myself, so I enjoy doing that with you all on YouTube and then discussing some of the things. I had an experience over this past week that I will probably share as I get into. We are now going into chapter 5, the state of presence. And so, if there's a correlation as I get through chapter 5, I will share that experience because it was, first of all, let me make sure my volume is good. I think so. Yep, we're good. Um, so I practice my nowness, right? Like being present, being in the now, being mindful is something that I consciously work on every single day, every single minute of every single day. Do I stay present? Do I stay in the now? Absolutely not. I'm a whole human being. Like we are a mess as a species. So, um when you mess up, you should apologize. Or if you find yourself out of the now, you should go back. So I had a really huge blow up, I think you could say. Yeah. So I might share that with you guys. We'll see if there's a correlation. If not, we'll just read and talk and discuss. And I don't know how many people will be here. You also see that little ducky in the corner. The last time I went live, I did it through oh girl, you still got the banner. Slow down. The last time I went live, I did it through YouTube. And when you go through YouTube, you can't put your comments up. You can't do an intro or an outro. And yeah, so some of the bells and whistles of StreamYard are really, really nice. But again, I didn't upgrade this year to the fancier version. So the duck is going to be with us when I go live. And I can't change that black background. I used to be able to make the background of it, and there's no way on the options that we have in our studio in StreamYard to like make it a full screen like you can on YouTube. So that is when I like the YouTube video, because at least you can be a full screen. I can't do that in StreamYard. T is Organized Chaos's knockoff version of Starbucks medicine ball. Instead of using peach, I use something called tangerine mimosa with the pure peppermint and then all the other things that you put in there. All right, so with all of those things said, I'm going to get started. So we are in chapter 5. And you guys have to excuse me. I have allergies really, really bad. And so my eyes like to water a lot in the morning. And I don't know if any of you guys experience that. Well, and it's getting older. I mean, it's getting older. It's getting worse the older I get. And I also have like a lot of mucus, you know, the allergies of it all. And I take an allergy pill every day. Child, that thing, I feel like I sometimes I'll stop taking it and then I'll start and it feels like it works again. But like half the time I feel like it's not doing nothing or my body is used to it. I don't know. It is what it ain't. So happy Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I hope everybody is able to take some time to reflect on the works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On Monday, when I come live, I might do something in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And yeah, that's it. That's all. So let's get into the power of now. Chapter 5, the state of presence. It's not what you think it is. When I start off a section, I meant to say this last week when I started. So these are questions that Eckhart is answering from people who have asked questions. So the first part is usually a question, and then the next part is his answer. And then usually in there, like if I have some type of life correlation, or if anybody is tuned in and they chime in on the chat, then we can take that and have like some sidebar conversation about it. It's not what you think it is. You keep talking about the state of presence as the key. I think I understand it intellectually, but I don't know if I have ever truly experienced it. I wonder, is it what I think it is, or is it something entirely different? It's not what you think it is. You can't think about presence, and the mind can't understand it. Understanding presence is being present. Try a little experiment. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. Then become very alert and wait for the next thought. Be like a cat watching a mouse hole. What thought is going to come out of that mouse hole? Let's try it. Close your eyes and think. I wonder what my next thought is going to be. It's really weird. Like, how can you want? I feel like it's like watching and waiting for eggs to boil, right? Like it never happens. It takes for and ever. When are the eggs gonna boil? Never. And then you walk away for too long and then they're burnt. I had to wait for quite a long time before a thought came in. Yeah, that's why I just like it was weird. I couldn't sit there and practice this with you guys. It was weird. Eckhart says, exactly. As long as you are in a state of intense presence, you are free of thought. You are still, yet highly alert. The instant your conscious attention sinks below a certain level, thought rushes in. The mental noise returns. The stillness is lost. You are back in time. That's literally what I just did, y'all. To test their degree of presence, some Zen masters have been known to creep up on their students from behind and suddenly hit them with a stick. Quite a shock. If the student had been fully present and in a state of alertness, if he had kept his loin girded and his lamp burning, which is one of the analogies that Jesus uses for presence, he would have noticed the master coming up from behind and stopped him or stepped aside. But if he were hit, that would mean he was immersed in thought, which is to say, absence, unconscious. So being present, from what I this is saying to me, is being aware, right? Like kind of, I think, being omnipresent, right? Like using your third eye. If I am fully present and immersed in stillness and mindfulness, I am aware of everything around me. To stay present in everyday life, it helps to be deeply rooted within yourself. Otherwise, the mind, which has incredible momentum, will drag you along like a wild river. What do you mean by rooted within yourself? It means to inhabit your body fully, to always have some of your attention in the inner energy field of your body, to feel the body from within, so to speak. Body awareness keeps you present. It anchors you in the now. The esoteric meaning of waiting. In a sense, the state of presence could be compared to waiting. Jesus used the analogy of waiting in some of his parables. This is not usual bored or restless kind of waiting that is a denial of the present, and I spoke about already. It is not a waiting in which your attention is focused on some point in the future, and the present is perceived as an undesirable obstacle that prevents you from having what you want. There is a qualitatively different kind of waiting, one that requires your total alertness. Something could happen at any moment, and if you are not absolutely awake, absolutely still, you will miss it. This is the kind of waiting Jesus talks about. In that state, all your attention is in the now. There is none left for daydreaming, thinking, remembering, anticipating. There is no tension in it, no fear, just alert presence. You are present with your whole being, with every cell of your body. In that state, the you that has a past and a future, the personality, if you like, is hardly there anymore. And yet nothing of value is lost. You are still essentially yourself. In fact, you are more fully yourself than you ever were before. Or rather, it is only now that you are truly yourself. For me, I think about if I am, when I am, not if, when I am present, I'm not thinking about the mistakes of the past because everything that has happened, even as of 5 seconds ago, helped me to be who I am in this moment. Do I have future goals? Yes, but I am not focused on the future. I am focused on in this moment, at this time, being present, being aware, and just being, right? I'm not trying. I am. I am that I am. Be like a servant, waiting for the return of the master, says Jesus. The servant does not know at what hour the master is going to come. So he stays awake, alert, poised, still, lest he miss the master's arrival. In another parable, Jesus speaks of the 5 careless, unconscious women who do not have enough oil. And in this book, Eckhart is referring to the oil as consciousness. I never thought of the oil as I've read the Bible from cover to cover. Never have I thought of the oil as consciousness. And one of my favorite songs is Alabaster Box, CeCe Winans. In another parable, Jesus speaks of the 5 careless, unconscious women who do not have enough oil or consciousness to keep their lamps burning or to stay present, and so miss the bridegroom, the now, and don't get to the wedding feast or the enlightenment. These 5 stand in contrast to the 5 wise women who have enough oil and stay conscious. Even the men who wrote the Gospels did not understand the meaning of these parables. So the first misinterpretations and distortions crept in as they were written down, with subsequent erroneous interpretations. The real meaning was completely lost. These are parables, not about the end of the world, but about the end of psychological time. They point to the transcendence of the egoic mind and the possibility of living in an entirely new state of consciousness. I'm going to give you something that just crossed my mind. And I don't even know if there's really a correlation, but I don't know why it just crossed my mind. So because it did, and I am in the now, I'm going to give it to you. There's a lot of things that happen on YouTube. Like YouTube is an entire ecosystem in and of itself. And there are relationships that happen on YouTube, some for the good of mankind and some for sometimes the detriment. And this is just me kind of, giving an overview of what I see. Our society, current day, has a real deep-seated need to cancel people, right? Like when you do wrong, our society wants to cancel you. And it doesn't matter for some people if the wrong that you did is a historical wrong. They would like to use your past to cancel your now. If you are a person who really wants to be the best version of yourself and you want to live in the now and in the present, but you have a cancel culture mindset, you are deceiving yourself. You cannot be part of a cancel culture for people's past. You cannot go digging up people's pasts, use it to hurt them in their present state, and think that you are now living in the now, because you're not. You want to hold another person accountable for their past mistakes, which help them to be who they are now. And I think what brought me here is because I have a new position. I often, as I was really stressed out and I couldn't come to YouTube. Part of my thinking as I I wanted to come back. I enjoy coming on YouTube. Like, it gives me joy. And part of my YouTube journey, and I hope my legacy, it's really not for me. It's for my future, right? It's for the conscious being that is looking for their ancestor, which I will be at some point in time. It's for my children. It's for their children. It's for their children's children. And so, because of some of the behaviors that I see on YouTube and some of the things that happened to me in my past position, I was like, wait a minute, I want to come back on YouTube, but I got to be really careful. I got to be mindful. And I know how people get down, right? Like, they will go dig up your great grands and tell all about their perceived wrongs and things, everything negative that they can think of. Use that, couple that with any perceived wrong that you've done, couple that, and then try to blast it out to the world to hurt you today in your now. I am not the same person that I was yesterday, let alone am I the same person that I was last month, last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 40 years ago. And I just believe personally that to use somebody's past against them, especially when they've grown and they are continuing to grow, is just wrong. And it shows who you really are. You are not a person who lives in the now. You are not a person who lives in the present. You still live in the past. You still live in a space that hurt you. That's not good. For me personally, and I think for the people that I like to be around and the content that I like to consume, I can't consume that kind of content. It does something to my spirit. So, with that said, again, I don't know why that just popped into my brain, but because it did, I wanted to share it with you because we're talking about living in the now, being present. All right. Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. What you have just described is something that I occasionally experience for brief moments when I am alone and surrounded by nature. Yes, Zen masters use the word satori to describe a flash of insight, a moment of no mind and total presence. Although satori is not a lasting transformation, be grateful when it comes, for it gives you a taste of enlightenment. You may indeed have experienced it many times without knowing what it is and realized its importance. Presence is needed to become aware of the beauty, the majesty, the sacredness of nature. Have you ever gazed up into the infinity of space on a clear night, awestruck by the absolute stillness and inconceivable vastness of it? Have you listened, truly listened, to the sound of a mountain stream in the forest, or to the song of a blackbird at dusk on a quiet summer evening? To become aware of such things, the mind needs to be still. You have to put down for a moment your personal baggage of problems, of past and future, as well as all your knowledge, Otherwise, you will see, but you won't see. You will hear, but you won't hear, because you're going to be analyzing. I am very guilty, you guys. Part of what I do at work is analyze. I analyze human behavior. I analyze scores, data, statistics, policies, procedures. I do a lot of analysis. So to stop that, I have to be conscious. I have to. And it's not very easy sometimes. And Even if you don't have like the education, some of us are just analytical about human beings in general because we are judgy AF. We judge everybody. And some of us judge everybody but ourselves because we like to point a finger, but we don't notice that these three fingers right here come right back at you. So that too is how you are not being present. That is how you are not being in the now. When you always got something to say about somebody else, always, it's always everybody else's fault. Always. Stop it. Your total presence is required. Beyond the beauty of the external forms, there is more here, something that cannot be named, something ineffable, some deep, inner, holy essence. Whenever and wherever there is beauty, this inner essence shines through somehow. It only reveals itself to you when you are present. Could it be that this nameless essence and your presence are one and the same? Would it be there without your presence? Go deeply into it. Find out for yourself. Good morning, sunshine. Hey, Foxy and family. Hey, boo. Hey, Foxy. I was going to wait to tell you, but your girl coming home. I'm going to get her tomorrow. I'll tell you about it later. But yeah, I'm going to pick my girl up. She coming home for good. Yep. So, yeah. I'll give you some details later on. Not right now. When you experience those moments of presence, you likely didn't realize that you were briefly in a state of no mind. This is because the gap between that state and the influx of thought was too narrow. Your satori may have lasted for a few seconds, but before the mind came in, your satori may only have lasted for a few seconds before the mind came in, but it was there. Otherwise, you would not have experienced the beauty. Minds can neither recognize nor create beauty. Only for a few seconds, while you were completely present, was that beauty or that sacredness there. Because of the narrowness of that gap and the lack of vigilance and alertness on your part, you were probably unable to see the fundamental difference between the perception, the thoughtless awareness of beauty, and the naming and interpreting of it as a thought. The time gap was so small and it seemed to be a single process. The truth is, however, that the moment thought came in, all you had was a memory of it. The wider the time gap between perception and thought, the more depth there is to you as a human being, which is to say, the more conscious you are. Many people are so imprisoned in their minds that the beauty of nature does not really exist for them. I'm going to tell you something that I just started doing and honestly started noticing. You going to go with me, Foxy? Mommy's going. Daddy said he want to go. That would be cool because when I get there, I got to get a truck. See, this is how you get out of being in the now. We are literally in a book talking about the now, and we over here having a sidebar conversation. But anyway, anywho, okay, so look, Foxy. Mommy's going. Daddy said that he want to go, which can work because I'm driving my car there, and then I'm going to get a U-Haul when I get there. So one of us can drive my car back. I was going to let her drive it back, but I would prefer not to. So one of us can drive my car back, and then the other of us, I'll drive the U-Haul. back, and that'll work because then it'll be it's still more space. So actually all of us can still go. So that actually is perfect if you want to roll out with us, Foxy. That'll work. I'm picking up the U-Haul at like 10, so I'll probably leave here at like 8ish. I'm gonna go live before we leave in the morning. So yeah, that's that. And we'll talk tonight when you get off. I'll talk to you tonight. Okay, anywho, I'm sorry, y'all. This is how you get out of the now, but you have to acknowledge it because it happens. This is real life. Life is going to life. Nobody is perfect. This is a guidebook to get us better, to make us better human beings. I'm not a therapist, a psychologist. I ain't Eckhart Tolle. I still don't even know how to say the man's name properly. I'm not Eckhart, but I'm working every single day, every single second of every single day. It is my goal as a human being to be a better version of what God created me to be, of what I think, right? Like most people say that. That's another thing I find interesting. I'm gonna have to reread everything I just read, y'all, because I'm about to go off on a tangent. I'm about to tell you right now, because I'm there and I'm just gonna stay on this road until I get back on this one. So let's get back on this road right here. Okay, so look, this is an interesting thing too. When we say we want to be a better version of ourselves, I really don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of true crime on YouTube. And based on what I know about history as a history teacher, based on the things that I see currently that happen, because we are in a society, like we see stuff now. We don't have to wait for the history books to tell us what's happening. We are living it, and not just our immediate area of history. We get to live a world view of history currently, which has not historically always been the case. And so based on that information that I have, and when I talk about us being the best version of ourselves, do you know that everybody was not created to be a good person? Our version of good. Do you know that some people were born to kill? Some people were born to steal. Some people were born to do terrible things. It has been the way of the world since before Jesus, while Jesus, after Jesus. Every history book tells us that. So if you are the best version of yourself and the version of yourself is to kill, steal, and destroy, some people are working hard to be better versions of that. So don't think because somebody says, I'm working on being the best version of myself, that they think they are a good person. Some people know exactly why they are here, right? Like they might get caught, they might get locked up, but they carried out their purpose. And their purpose was to do some things that some people find atrocious. But because this is who we are, this is what society is. It has been like that since the dawn, since Eve ate that apple, Cain and Abel. Like it's who we are. It's human nature. Human nature is not just good. There will never be a perfect good world. That's not how this world is set up. And every single good person, quiet as it's kept, has the ability to turn dark. I'm going to say that again for all of you perfect people out there. Every good person has the ability to turn dark. It just is what it is. And if we acknowledge that and are aware of it and are present, it will help us navigate life hopefully a bit better. And it will hopefully get us out of situationships, relationships that can take us off this earth before our appointed time, as Simple the P would say. Right? Be mindful of who you are and navigate spaces that are comfortable for that. I do not think that everybody that will one day see this is going to want to be the version of good that I consider good, or the version of better that I consider better. That would be foolish of me to think that. I am very aware of what our world is. And if nothing else, YouTubers show me that every day. I've seen friendships on YouTube turn into terrible enemy ships. I've never seen anything like it. And I've never seen anything like it play out so publicly, right? I saw, and shout out to Gangster's Paradise and Amina the Great. I've seen YouTube friendships turn into people getting locked up, people calling the police on them, and just being on live recording it and talking about it. Like what? And they, guess what? I also acknowledge, because this is what they're doing, they are being the best versions of themselves because that is who they are. I am not judging that. I am aware of that. And for me, I want to navigate away from that. That is not a comfortable space for me. So just be mindful of the spaces that you go into. Be mindful of the energy that you are letting come into you and your space and who you want to be. Because that stuff is not going to go away. Those behaviors are not going to go away. If they did, psychologists couldn't psychology, therapists couldn't therapy, doctors couldn't prescribe medication, right? Like, it's part of our society. People do what they do. People are who they are. Accept people for who they are. And if you don't like it, you don't have to tune in. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch. If you don't like it, you don't have to create relationships with these people. And if you do create relationships with these people and you have no boundaries and you really think that they're your friend, shame on you. Especially when they've shown you who they are. When people show you who they are, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. And believe that whatever somebody will do to somebody else, baby, they will do that to you too. Mhm, mhm, mhm. All right, now that I'm back, I'm coming back. We bringing it back to this role. Now I got to start over because I don't even know what I read, because as I was reading the first part of this section, I wasn't really being mindful because that road that I just went on, it was coming. I wasn't in the now because I was starting to this road over here. So I'm coming back. Bring it back. Keep bring it back. All right. When you experience those moments of presence, you likely didn't realize that you were briefly in a state of no mind. This is because the gap between that state, that road I was just on, and the influx of thought was too narrow. Your satori may only have lasted for a few seconds before the mind came in, but it was there. It was there when I started reading this section, but it went away. Otherwise, you would not have experienced the beauty of being with you all right here, right now. Mind can neither recognize or create beauty. Only for a few seconds, while you were completely present, was that beauty or that sacredness there. That is why beauty is in the mind of the beholder. Beauty is not necessarily what you see with your eyes. Beauty is what your mind needs, what it finds beautiful. Because of the narrowness of that gap and a lack of vigilance and alertness on your part, you were probably unable to see the fundamental difference between the perception, the thoughtless awareness of beauty, and the naming and interpreting of it as thought. The time gap was so small that it seemed to be a single process. The truth is, however, that the moment thought came in, all you had was a memory of it. the satori, the perfectness, the stillness, the nowness. The wider the time gap between perception and thought, the more depth there is to you as a human being, which is to say, the more conscious you are. Many people are so imprisoned in their minds that the beauty of nature does not really exist for them, that they might say, "What a pretty flower." But that's just a mechanical mental labeling because they are not still, not present. They don't truly see the flower, don't feel its essence, its holiness, just as they don't know themselves, don't feel their own essence, their own holiness. One of the things that I started doing within this last year, well, probably this summer, when I go outside and sit in my backyard and I'm just being still, being present, no stress, I see bugs now. I see the little insects doing what they do, and I speak to them. When I hear the birds, I speak to them. I speak to the universe now in my stillness, in my presence, in my being. Because before I existed, the bugs were bugging, the birds were singing, the trees were treeing. In my presence, the bugs are bugging, the trees are treeing. And once I no longer exist, those same things will continue to manifest. The world will continue to move. It will continue to do what it's been doing, right? For millions of years. We don't make or break nothing on this planet. It's going to keep on going. The universe going to keep on universing. And becoming one with it, acknowledging it, has been really eye-opening for me. I am not afraid of death. It is a part of life. Every single human being was born to die. Every single thing, not just humans, every single part of this world that we are now experiencing together was born to die. It will no longer exist at some point. Good morning, beautiful Shalom. Good morning, sunshine. I'm so happy you're here. How you feeling, sis? How was your week? Blessings to you. All right. So yeah, I acknowledge everything now. I see things that I've never seen or paid attention to before. I sidestep insects on purpose, right? Literally. I'm not going to say I still don't get my house exterminated once a year, child, because I want them to stay outside. I don't want them on the inside with me. But I do acknowledge them. I acknowledge their presence. When I see animals, listen, I'm trying to pack up and move before the end of the year because we have an influx of cats in our neighborhood. And I have neighbors. God bless them. I'm not mad at them, honestly. It used to get on my nerves. Stop feeding the cats. They'll go away. My neighbors will feed the cats. As I've become more aware and more present, I acknowledge and understand, number one, there are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. And the universe sustains itself by every single being on it. Every single being. And so my neighbors feeding the cats, though in my humanness, I wish they wouldn't. In my nowness, in my awareness, I understand that what they are doing is helping the universe. And so now when I go outside and I see the little, they don't bother nobody. They just, if they see you, they run. I'd be like, good morning. I'd be like, hey girl, what's up? How you doing today? Because I now understand that too It's part of the universe. And the universe sees and knows all. The universe is God. God is perfect. Every single thing on this planet is perfect. The good is perfect. Get this when you get home. Even the evil is perfect. It is happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen. It is happening exactly as planned. You should acknowledge it and move on. So now, when I see a little cat, when I get out in the morning, get ready to start my car, running out the back of the car, I'd be like, hey, girl, good morning. I do, on purpose. Yep, I do. You wanted to touch on that? What we touching on, sis? What we touching on? The duality of life, the good and the bad, the Cain and the Abel of it all. The alabaster box, knowing that you are imperfectly perfect. It is not for us to condemn beings, period, because we are all God's creation and we are all doing, guess what? Exactly what we were created to do. How you gonna judge somebody? You can't judge people. I've long since, and I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, child, because I still be giving side eyes. I am still a whole human being. And I'm still flawed and I'm still a mess. And I still side eye. However, now in my awareness and my knowingness, I be like, okay, girl, stop. They just being who they are. Okay, so now, beautiful Shalom. So when I started, you weren't here when I first started. I got to put a star right here because I'm about to take a pause for the cause. So when I first started my live, I said I didn't know if I was going to tell this story that I experienced this week, but I'm going to tell it now. If Foxy is still here, she knows a little bit about it, but I didn't give her the details. I told her I probably would give her the details when I went live this weekend. So I think now is the time. This is a perfect time for me to share a story. We're going to have a little story time about your girl jumping in and out of nowness, in and out of the nowness and the presentness, and allowing God's creations to be exactly who they are. Because this is how life really works. There is no straight line to being the best version of yourself, whatever yourself is. There is a no judgment zone that I have awakened to about people being the best versions of themselves. If you are a terrorist, be the best version of a terrorist you can be, because that's who God created you to be. Right? It's like once you accept that, as hard as that is to accept and say out loud, I had an awakening right before school started. A really good friend lives up north, and she invited me and another good friend to come hang out with her for the weekend. And we were talking that night. And when I told her, I said, one of the hardest things for me to realize as a person who likes to be present and live in the now is that the bad things that happen were meant to happen. The bad things that I consider bad, the evil things of nature, are still part of the fabric of life. And that's hard, y'all. That is so hard to accept because we want everything to be la, 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 la. I love you. Life is good, and it's fucking not. It's not. We will have highs. We will have lows. People will do terrible things to other people. And that is what the universe is. That is what God is. And when you go to church and your pastor tell you God is all good, that is a fallacy. And that is a hard unpacking that I had to do. I grew up in church. I grew up Baptist. I unchurched years ago. But for a majority of my childhood and my young adult life, I believe that like bad people were evil and bad people were just not of the will of God. Once you realize that you have been misled by that type of teaching and you have to untrain your thoughts around that type of thinking, it's hard and it hurts. Like for real, it's hard and it hurts so bad. All right, let's get into the comments because Beautiful Shalom is with me right now. Let's talk, sis. My Bible study at Edson was about, can you fellowship with someone not in Christ? This is a new moment I'm in. Yep. It's not, I'm not just now getting there, Beautiful Shalom. I've been here for a minute, but like understanding it is starting to become clear for me within probably the last 5 years. I unchurched more than 5 years ago. I didn't know why I unchurched, but that unchurching and then rethinking and then reading and listening and being more aware is how I'm starting to like put different pieces together. Because again, I am a Baptist baby, hooping and hollering and screaming and running up and down the aisles, baby, falling asleep on Big Mama's lap, baby, reading the Bible cover to cover, baby. I know it. And having to do work to change your thoughts about what you learned as a child and what your big mama believed in and what your aunties and uncles believed in. That's some hard, it was hard. And not only is it hard, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I used to have hard opinions and I still do, but I know we have to extend kindness to all. And sometimes that's just shutting the, yep. That's how I first started. Where you are right now, Beautiful Shalom, that's where I first started. Like just that's when you put your mindfulness eyes on and you be like, you know what, first of all, I don't know everything. Anytime you think that you are the brightest bulb in the light bulb toolkit box, that's where you go wrong. Thinking that you know every single thing and that your way of thinking is the only way of thinking. Once I passed that part of life, whatever, I don't think it's an age. It can happen for some people very young, for some people midlife, and for some people older or never. But once you get through that work, that mental gook that you got to get through and just learn to shut up and just, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know. And then sit with it and do some unpacking and put some different pieces and be like, wait a minute. I used to believe that, but that's not really true. And Pastor such and such said that, but that was based on Pastor such and such's perception. That's why when people go to church and only listen to the pastor interpretation of the Bible, when you don't realize that the Bible is a history book to teach you, to help you, and to guide you, the Bible is not a one road way. Because if it were, it would just be one prophet, one teacher teaching the one book. That's why there are so many pastors, so many bishops, so many whatever they are, right? You have to read that thing for yourself. Because what you get from that word will very likely and sometimes differ from what your favorite pastor told you. Because your favorite pastor can only give you what their mind thinks the interpretation is, or what their teacher told them the interpretation was. Read it for yourself. Learn for yourself. Stop taking other people's, even pastors' words for the Holy Grail, because guess what? They are a whole flawed human being. And that for me was hard. I started knowing and seeing in college that pastors were human beings. I didn't know it like all my young adult life. I didn't know it all my teenage life. It wasn't until my early 20s when I was in college. I had a roommate. Her roommate was my big mama's pastor. Her stepfather. I'm sorry. My roommate's stepfather was my big mama's pastor. This was a man who was my pastor when I was a kid. And that awakening of who he was as a human being, because I didn't know anything about his personal life. When I heard the things about his personal life, I was confused, y'all. I was so confused. I still was going to church when I was in college. I was still reading the Bible. Like literally during that time, that's when I started. It took me a year to read the Bible cover to cover. And I think I've read it twice. I'm conscious of the one time I read it cover to cover, but I want to say I've read it twice. And it's hard to read. And I'm not going to say I understood everything I read because the Bible is very confusing. You need a companion. You need a Bible dictionary, all of those things. That's how I know I read it twice. When I read it the first time, I was confused. The second time I read it, I had the companions and I had the dictionaries. So I know I read it twice. I'm just not conscious of the second time. But I did have companions and stuff. And so with all of that said, and I got to get to the comments because Beautiful Shalom is talking to me. That's when I started my awakening. I'm still on the awakening journey for sure. But my awakening, I'm clear, it started in college. That light bulb went off like, oh my goodness. They're humans. And humans are a mess. Humans are like you should never put a human on a pedestal. But I still, even after that light bulb went off, I didn't unscrew it, take it out, and change. I still kept pastors on pedestals, kept human beings on pedestals. And that's how I got hurt by my ex-husband. That's how I recently got hurt by a family member. That's how I got hurt by a former pastor. That's how you get hurt, by looking at humans as something other than flawed. Nobody's perfect. All right, here I come, Beautiful Shalom. I feel you, sis. We are in that process together. My journey is mine, and I have to have grace and respect for other people's process without condemnation. Yes, ma'am. God says favor doesn't exempt famine. Yep. He also said, pick up your cross. He said we would suffer. Every single one of us is going to suffer. We are going to have pain in this life, sometimes unspeakable, unimaginable, and you don't know when or where it's going to come from. He said those who believed would have to be willing to be persecuted, would be torn down and attacked for his name's sake, and that they would have to be meek and endure. And I'll say this about part of my journey. What I am learning, and this has been within the last year, and I'm a big age. I'm 50 years old. I'm learning because of what I've experienced on YouTube, right? The things that you do of the world, people don't want you to thrive. People don't want you to be happy. Some people are looking for your flaws so that they can exploit them. When I messed up on YouTube and somebody decided to contact my employer about something that, first of all, I didn't know I messed up until I woke up and realized I messed up, right? Like, you shouldn't have did that. I didn't know. I was just YouTubing. And what I was like, 48, 49 when I did it. Well, you should know, you older. Age has nothing to do with knowledge. That's the number one thing that I am learning. We always like to say, well, that person should know better. They're older. Stop doing that to people. We are conscious, sometimes unconscious beings. And our knowledge base is not the same just because we are a number on a calendar that we've created in this life. Your consciousness is. You could be a young person who is wise beyond their years. You could be an old ass fool, right? Like, let's understand that. Stop thinking because people are a certain age that they should know this. They should be here. They should be set financially. They should have a house and a car. Or stop it. If we can just stop doing that to people, we can become a better society. Age has nothing to do with a whole lot other than we have laws in place to say that if you're 18 years old, you're a grown up. If you're 21 years old, you can drink. If you 30 years old, your clock should be ticking and you should be married with a kid and a half, right? Like, that's this American great dream that we've created. And that is why so many of us are fucked up now. Because we want to hold people accountable to a time clock that really is irrelevant. Get that when you get home. Your age, your number has nothing to do with God. God don't give a damn about none of that. Nope. The universe don't really care about none of that. That's why some of us make it to a big age, some of us don't. It is what you were put here to do, that's what matters. So to judge another person's purpose or awareness or where they are or what they should be doing, that is your human nature kicking in, and it is flawed thinking. And you need to unlearn that. And stop saying because you X amount of ages or years old, you should be in this space at this point in time, at this appointed time, and you should be. Stop. I have gotten some words of wisdom from some very young people. Very young people. I work with children. I work with children age 5 and up. And I learn from little people literally every single day. Who am I to say that I know more? I've lived longer. That's a fact. But do I know more? No. They know things that I don't know. Once you can understand that part of your humanness, your mind is going to open. I promise you. Your mind is going to open and you will see the world very differently than the way the world sees you. Get that when you get home. Do you see the world the way the world sees you? If that's how you see the world, I want you to do some work on yourself. This avatar that you are in, it literally is an avatar. You can have surgery to change your avatar. You can change your hair. You can shave your eyebrows off. You can put some fillers in your lips. You can get tattoos. Your avatar is just that. This is a body. This is a decaying avatar that is just here to do God's work. Whatever the work is, that's why you are here. That's why this being exists. It doesn't exist to make other beings happy. It doesn't exist to make you comfortable. You literally exist to do God's work. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, Allah. That is why you are here. That is why the birds bird. That is why the bees bee. That is why the trees tree. Every single thing that is here to do God's work. Whether you like the work that's being done or not, that is why you are here. And that's not something that I believe. That's something that I know for sure. So I really don't debate about that part of my awareness. I've woken up to that. I don't gotta like it. I just have to be. Just be. Once you can just be present, you will stop. Well, you won't stop because you're still a human being. Because I'm not gonna act like I don't judge people, child. I do, God, and I'll be like, God, stop. No, forgive me. I don't want to judge. I want to be judged less, which means I want to judge less. But I'm never gonna stop judging because I'm still a flawed human being. I've been in this space for a few years. It's levels to it, but we've pivoted and just being in the now, actively practicing. I get to a point where I let my flesh override my spirit, and it happens, and it's going to continue to happen, beautiful Shalom, because we are human beings. We are going to be ing. It's the ing part for me. We're going to continue to do that. But as you work through your nowness, you be you do the ing part less, and you bring yourself back in. Let me just be. Let me stop judging these people because they can't help it. Oh, so wait, pause. That's why I was trying to get to the story. See, beautiful Shalom, you got me somewhere else. Okay, listen. Okay, so look, let me get to the story of it all, y'all. Let me tell you about my story this week because I got to get finished with beautiful Shalom and then I got to get back in the book. Okay, so look, this is my story of my flawed beingness. I had to take my mom to the emergency room this week. I took her at 10 o'clock in the morning. We were there until 10 o'clock at night. So we were in the emergency room for 12 hours. 12. Okay. That's the overall short version. The me getting out of my nowness and trying to get back there is the story I want to tell you about. So we get to the emergency room at 10 o'clock in the morning, check in, go in the back. They don't have rooms in the emergency room. They have beds in the hallways. I'm guessing because COVID, flu, life is lifing, emergency rooms going to always be on bump because our avatars are going to fall apart eventually in some way, shape, or form. And then the universe is going to universe. So, violence is going to happen to some of the avatars. Accidents like you experienced, beautiful Shalom, life is gonna life. So our avatars will always need to be maintained throughout our existence. So mommy is on a bed in the hall. Cool, no problem. 10 o'clock turns into 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, mommy is not offered lunch. I asked the nurse, do you have snacks or anything? Because we've been here for, a couple hours. She brings mommy sandwiches, juice, crackers. Cool. 12 o'clock turns into 2 o'clock. Shit, I'm hungry by then. Like, is there a cafeteria? Mind you, it's a Sunday. Sundays don't operate outside of emergency rooms in the hospital the way they do normally inside of the hospital. So the cafeteria is not really open, but they have those foods on the sides. So I go pick up a few things for myself and I see some other stuff mommy might like. So I get that, go back to mommy. 12 o'clock turns into 2, 2 o'clock turns into 4, 4 o'clock turns into 7. Mommy's talked to the doctor she needs to talk to. We haven't gotten much feedback about what's happening. And at 7 o'clock, mommy is told that she's going to go into the first room. Then she's going to go into this room. Okay, cool. No problem. I've been very present. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm sitting in a chair. I have a bad knee. I have to get up periodically and walk around and move because, number one, I already got ADHD-ish type features about my avatar because I move around a lot. My job, I just move around all day. I run around a building literally all day, up and down stairs. I move around. I play with children. I do all kind of things. I don't even sit at a desk at my job. I have a stand-up desk with a comfort mat to keep my knees intact. And I do all of my work standing up. So standing up is really comfortable for me. That's how I work. So sitting down in this chair is stressing me out. But I'm cool because I'm being in the now. I'm practicing my breathing. And I'm here for mommy. Mommy needs help. Right? So 7:00 p.m., we're told she's going into her room. Then some nurse from somewhere that I ain't seen in 9 hours comes. Mind you, we are in the hallway outside of the room that they told us we was going into. Some nurse that I ain't seen walks into the room that just got cleaned up for mommy and says out loud with the door open, "Oh, she's going to stay in the hallway and we're going to bring such and such and put her in here." There's not enough Eckhart Tolle. There's not enough nowness. There's not enough breathing that exists that didn't stop me from going to fuck off. It was terrible, y'all. Listen, let me tell you how terrible it was. Oh my God. Like, I can laugh about it now, but baby, let me tell you how terrible it was. So look, listen. I hear her. I gave her a name. I call her White Fragility. She was a little young white nurse. She took herself into this room and said, "My mama gonna continue to stay in this hallway on this bed at 7:00 p.m. And we've been here since 10 a.m. And I've been really good. I've been breathing. I've been catering to mommy. They haven't offered her the hospital socks. They had to take a scan. She had to talk to a therapist in the hallway. Like, they didn't do all of the regular stuff the way that they needed to. And I accepted all of it for 9 hours. I accepted it. I breathed through it. I advocated for mommy in my calm Zen space, right? When that lady walked in that room and she said my mama was going to stay in that hallway and somebody else was going in that room, everything got lost and I went off on her. And she got scared. I didn't touch her. I just raised my voice and I expressed my for real feelings now, because mind you, I've been dealing with my for real feelings for 9 hours. 9 hours. And the Lord said, "I'm about to push you out your 9-hour Zen comfort zone. And I'm about to bring out the real you." Because it still exists. All of our mess, even when we grow past it, it's still a part of who we are. It's still a fabric of who we are. I can't undo my past. My past made me exactly who I am. And I got terrible words that reside in my past. I got terrible behaviors that reside in my past. I can control them better because now I'm a little bit more aware. But baby, she got all the words. I didn't touch her. I'm not a physical person. I didn't touch her. But I am a mental terrorist when I need to be. And she felt it. She felt everything. Everything that I had held in for 9 hours, she felt it. And the sad part about it is, though, y'all, and this is what happens in our society, and this is why white women get called Karen. They get scared. They can't take a verbal crucifixion from Black people. When we get heightened and elevated, that's normal. We can deal with it in our households. We can deal with it with each other. But white people get scared of us. Do you know this lady called security on me? Y'all. That's why I named her White Fragility. Because at the moment she called security on me for speaking aggressively, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's aggressive to her. It's kind of normal for a lot of us. It's not normal for all of us. Some of us can't take it too. I'm not going to say we can all take it. But she couldn't take it. So she called security because I cursed. Yes, I did. And I would not let her get a word in edgewise. And this is another thing that really kept pushing me over the edge. She was trying to explain to me. I wanted to say, bitch, you should have explained to me before you went in there and talked so that I could hear you. You started this relationship because I ain't seen you in 9 hours. Now you want to talk to me. You should have talked to me before you talked to them. You should have closed the door and had a plan before you said what you said, knowing that I was within earshot. And y'all, don't get it twisted. I get it from my mama, but mama is on this bed. She like, come give me a hug. Just come give me a hug. I'm like, girl, y'all, I got a mask on. I can barely breathe. I'm heaving and crying. Like my crying, I cry when I get really, touched or emotional. I do. But when I get angry, that's how I am able to control myself. I let the tears come out because otherwise it could get worse. So I am crying. I told y'all earlier, I was walking up and down the hall because I, got a bad knee. I'm walking up and down the hall briskly now. I'm moving. And mommy is just like, come give me a hug. Come give me a hug, Key. Come give me a hug. And I'm like, girl, I can't hug you right now. I'm mad. I got to walk. I got to move. I got to breathe. I'm breathing. I'm like, I'm trying to practice. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to bring it back, but it's not coming back quickly enough. Like, I know I'm not in my comfort. I know I'm not in my zen. Bring it back, Key. Bring it back. I'm breathing. I'm walking. I'm mad. The nurse is standing there with security on the phone. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Are you serious? So I sit down finally. 5 security guards come for my little ass. 5. Yeah. They sent 5 security guards. Well, she sent 5 security guards because she couldn't take this verbal lashing. So she called security. I need for all afraid white women or any women or any men. If somebody's saying something to you, especially when they are advocating for their loved ones, causes you to feel fear, you should check yourself. You need better communication skills then. And I'll say why I believe that, because I work in a field where we get very irate parents. Very irate parents. I would not call security on a parent because they're irate and because they're saying things to me and they're being mean. Mean girls don't scare me, maybe because I have mean girl tendencies. I don't know. But I'm not calling security because a parent is going off on me. I'm going to let them say what they need to say. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be present because they need to get it out. Let people get it out. Let them get it out. That's what they need. That energy that's in them, they want to get it out. I've been sitting here for 9 hours. Y'all ain't did a whole bunch of stuff y'all was supposed to do for my mama. You messed up on the medication and mama trying to tell me I can go home. And I'm trying to tell mama, no, I know enough about hospitals that you got to stay with your loved ones because workers are overworked. It's not enough of them, especially right now. And I got to advocate for you, girl. I know what you need. I'm not going nowhere. And that was wrong. How they just did this thing right here was out of order. And they need to learn from this. And I need to learn better too. So we're going to all grow right now. No, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to sit right here until 10 p.m. Okay, so listen. So she called security. Security comes over. I did take a picture that I shouldn't have took a security, but I just thought it was very entertaining. Like, you got to send 5 big old people up here for my little bitty self. I ain't did nothing violent. Mind you, I had seen a patient be violent earlier. It took y'all a long time to call security on her. But because I said some things that hurt your feelings, you call security? Girl. Don't do that, Karens of the world. Don't do that, white fragilities of the world. Don't call security on people because your feelings are hurt. It's just not necessary. Okay, long story short. So security gets called. They call me. Well, I had called myself down before security even got there. I was sitting in the chair when they pulled up or walked up. All of this time, it's two Black women that are sitting outside of patient doors watching everything go down, y'all. Security comes and talks to me, blah, 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 blah. Security leaves. I stay with mommy. Mommy's in the hallway. This one Black lady right here that was next to us watching one of the patient rooms. She says to me, girl, you know, they call security on us too. I said, wait, what? She said, yeah. When we start talking to them and they get scared, they call security on us. I said, you work here, she said, and they will call security on us too. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So all of the fragile egos of the world, I need you to understand something. Just because somebody raises their voice, just because somebody finally releases their pent up feelings that they've had for hours and hours and hours and hours, it doesn't mean that they are going to do anything to you. You know, they don't have weapons on them. You know, they're a little person, a short little person, and I'm older. Girl, I'm not about to be up in here fighting with you. I got a whole career. But I do got words for you that you need to hear because the way this went down was inappropriate. So yeah, y'all. I didn't know when I was gonna tell that story or if I was gonna tell it, but yeah, your girl got out of pocket. As my boo Sin for the people say, rest in peace, Sin. Your girl got out of pocket big time and had security called on her in the hospital. I was mad. And then my brother calling me on the phone. I'm trying to tell him what's going on. It was just a whole kerfuffle. So yeah, that was my out of the nowness, trying to get back into the nowness and hoping that those nurses grow a little bit from me coming out of pocket and helping me understand it's hard out here for the hospital community. It really is. It's hard. I get it. I understand. But when people are advocating for their loved ones, y'all gotta do better too. We all gotta do better. We all can grow. Do better. Don't call security. Just don't. You don't feel threatened. She didn't feel threatened. She didn't think I was gonna do something to her. She was just being white fragility. Okay, anyway, let me get back to the comments and then we got to get back to our book, child. All right. So he humbles me and helps me get back to a greater understanding. Jesus spoke in parables to teach the people the context of his word and what it means. Religion doesn't equal tradition, and that's what we need to separate. I don't believe in religion anymore because I was a 7th grade history teacher and I had to teach a lot of different religions. And that experience of learning about all of the different religions, I'm like, well, if Christianity is the end all to be all, why do all these other religions exist? And they've existed for a long time. And they're not going to all go to hell, I'm sure. Like, there's more to life than just being a Christian. There's more. Like, I get it. That's the American thing. And I'm not saying that being a Christian is wrong, but there's more to life. There's more to religion than Christianity, for sure. There are other beliefs, for sure. And those beliefs aren't necessarily wrong, for sure. A lot of practices in the Baptist church have become traditions and not about Christ. Oh, for sure. Child, I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not even going to go into my mind was blown in college. Look for the Christ in people and not people in Christ. I just love your content and the real stimulating conversations that stem from the topics. Thank you, beautiful Shalom. So many people struggle with church because of the judgment and falsehoods. Yeah, church is like what? A hospital. You should be able to go to church and get fixed and healed, but you go to church and get judged. That skirt is too short. You shouldn't wear jeans. You shouldn't look like that. You smell like church. Especially, that's one of the good things about I think present day. You can go to church from home now. You can have bedside Baptist, like for real bedside Baptist, by turning on the computer and logging in. Yes. Is it nice to have where two touch and agree? You can touch and agree outside of the walls of church, though. You can meet up with your people, go to lunch, and touch and agree. You can touch and agree in your book club. You can touch and agree anywhere. You can touch and agree right here, right now. Beautiful Shalom. We are touching and agreeing. Maybe not fully on every single thing, but touching and agreeing doesn't have to be physical. You can tune in and touch and agree. Oh, so we at the hospital part. Your employee, yeah, these types of things used to bother me and have me going off doing tangents on my show. Oh yeah, that's when I was telling you about what happened on my channel. Yes. Somebody sent my YouTube. One of the first YouTube videos I made was a whole shit show. Like, I can acknowledge it now and laugh at it. It was a whole shit show. It really was. And they my employer got it. It got so bad at my last job that my pictures on, like, I had to change my Facebook. I had to change a lot of my social media stuff. I had to lock down my Instagram because things that I would do in my personal life, they would send it to my employer. Like, what this got to do with me? I didn't show these kids this picture in class. Like, why are you here? I ain't did nothing to kids. I love kids. I respect kids and I respect my work. But I'm a whole human being and I have a whole personal life and I have other interests outside of the daily grind of my education career. And I'm a creative. I am a creative person and I need to get that energy out too. Like, nobody's going to put baby in a box except YouTube in this box on this screen. But that, you know what I'm saying? But like, no, you don't get to tell me what I can and can't do in my off hours. If it's like, I'm not morally doing anything wrong in my off hours. My off hours are my off hours and I get to do and be me. And I think about that now that I'm coming back on YouTube a little bit. I think about that. Like, one day, very likely, somebody's going to figure out who I am on YouTube somewhere. And is it going to have an impact on my current job? Who knows? Because people judge. You might judge me being live today and I have this position at work. Why is she live on YouTube? She does this at work. She shouldn't be doing that. Why not? Because what I'm doing here, I'm doing it because it's helping someone somewhere, and it's bigger than me. There will be generations after me looking for where they came from. Who was this? I mean, I might as well say my real name, but I'm not going to. But anyway, who was my great, 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 great grand? They get to tune in and see me in live and living color. Do you know what a blessing that is? When I did my ancestry DNA research, I have ancestors that I wish I had pictures of, that I wish I could go further back. I want to create a space that 200 years from now, some little girl, some little boy, some being is going to be like, "Ah, look at her. Like, she was here. This is what she was doing. This is what she was talking about. She was a human being too." That's why I do this. That's why I still come live. I've thought about consequences. There could be, I don't know. But my nowness, my energy, the God in me keeps telling me to come. And so here I am. Oh, wait times at my job extend anywhere from 4 to 18 hours before seeing a provider. Beautiful Shalom. Let me tell you what they told me. That my mother could have been in the hall. They said that they've had patients in the hallways for sometimes 2 days. I said, well, how do the patients sleep? How do they? She can't go to, like, it's her bedtime. She can't even sleep out here. The lights are bright. There's noise, people walking up and down. And I was like, oh my goodness. But that was after I calmed down. because they didn't tell me all that before. And that's part of how we got to me getting elevated. Like all of that information, they should have told us that when we checked in. That would have helped calm my presence down some. And when she went in there and had that conversation, she should have did maybe two things. She should have came and talked to me first about what was about to not happen, or she should have closed that door and had that conversation and sent somebody out to talk to us. So it was just a mess all the way around. It's the only level 1 trauma center in 100. Oh my goodness, beautiful Shalom. Not. But all of the hospitals are bad. Like all of them are bad. Who came out? LOL. Oh, you mean who came out of me? What was my old name? Cross? One of my nicknames, y'all, was Cross. And when Cross come out, baby. But Cross usually only comes out when I drink. And I don't really drink anymore. So I guess there is a sober version of her too, Foxy. Because I have not gone off like that on somebody in such a long time. Like it in such a long time. I was heaving. And mama was like, just come give me a hug. Just come give me a hug. And I'm like, girl, leave me alone. Girl, no. And then my brother called. He was like, Judd, you can't do nothing. Calm down. No. And mind you, my mother is one of the calmest, most disconnected people I know. But I've seen that version of her twice, I think, in my whole life. I seen my mama snap twice. So she knew. Like when she saw it happening, she knew. She knew what was happening with her baby girl. And that's probably why she was just like, come give me a hug. And I'm like, I can't. Like it was too late. It was too late. It was the box, Pandora's box had opened and all of it was out. You got a story time. You got to tell me when you're doing your story time, beautiful Shalom, so I can come over and tune in with you. All right, y'all, I got to finish this book. We've been here an hour and a half. I still got to go work out and get my day started. I got to go do my grocery shopping because I got to go pick my baby up from school tomorrow. But you know what? I think, Foxy, if you would have been there, you probably would have calmed me down. Like you would have heard the conversation too, and you probably would have went to talk to them before I would have been able to. Because it literally happened like that. Soon as she walked in there, because mind you, I'm very alert to this room because this is the room. It was 2 rooms. She was going into a different room first. And then now she's going to go in this one. Okay, cool. That's cool. Life happens. She ain't going in that one. I really don't care which room she goes in. I just need her in the room because it's her bedtime. She needs her night meds. And she need to go to sleep. So when she went in that room, I'm focused on this room. So I'm watching and listening for everything that's happening. Like, even if I'm not looking at you, my peripheral vision is outstanding. When I tell you my peripheral vision is like 20/20, it's because I've been a dancer all my life. And part of dancers, we have to see everything that's happening around us. We have to be very aware. I see all of the things, even when I'm not looking directly at those things. I can tell you what's happening over here in this corner right now, even if I'm not looking at it. That's how aware I am. So I'm focusing, I'm sipping on water, playing on my phone, but I'm tuned into this room. I see her going to this room. So now, what's going on? Because I know the room is almost clean. I know what's happening in this room. They cleaning the room. They sanitize it. They change the sheets. I know everything that's happening. The garbage has been emptied. It's on and popping. That lady went in that room and said out loud so I could hear her. Oh, she's going to stay in the hall. Yeah. The temperature, baby, it was on and popping. What? She came out that room. I was right behind her. But I ain't touch her. But the verbal crucifixion, it probably was too much for her. All right, y'all. I gotta finish this book. I gotta go. I gotta finish this book, and I don't want to finish and start over. And you know, the chapter ain't that long, so we almost done. We got like 4 more pages to read. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Yeah, you would have helped me. You would have went to talk to her instead of me. Spit on, hit with things. Right, beautiful song. I didn't do none of that. I didn't do none of that. And she called security on me. Like, and because again, when you say this spit on hit, there was a lady that was there, that was a patient who was doing all of that. And she did it for a minute before they called security on her. But she was a patient. She was getting up. They wanted the patients to stay in the bed because it's a safety risk. She kept getting up out the bed. She started kicking them. She started spitting on them. She was doing all kind of stuff. And it took them a minute to call security to get her under. This was the kicker, y'all. So I just told y'all about the lady, right, that was doing all of this stuff, beautiful Shalom said, that happens at her facility. When they told me my mama was going to stay in the hallway and they was bringing another patient to put in that room, guess who they put in that room? That lady from earlier who got there after us, who had been kicking and spitting and doing all of that stuff. That made it even worse. My temperature got even higher. Listen. Y'all done made my mama talk to the doctor in this hallway. They needed to do a EKG on her. She brings the EKG machine into the hallway. My mama don't even have a hospital gown on. You can't do an EKG. Like, you can't do this in the hallway. So they wheeled my mama into an empty, some type of room, observation room, half-ass, give her a gown to put on. All of this is in the ER. Yes, beautiful Shalom. All of this is in the ER. That's what I'm saying. Like, I had held so much in for so long. I had let all of this fuck shit happen. All of it. And this is probably, I don't know if it's petty or it's just because, like, I don't know what it is, but I keep track. Like, I have a consumption list within me, right? So I'm making mental notes of all of the fuck shit that's happening from the time we got there. And I'm like, okay, it's Sunday. I'm giving it an excuse. I'm giving it an escape. She got to talk to these people. She shouldn't be having this conversation in the hallway. You bring the EKG machine out. You realize, oh, she can't get unrobed in the hallway. So you pull her in. She get unrobed on the bed, not in the bathroom. Put this little gown on half-assedly. Do the EKG. Leave all the leads on her. Push her back into the hallway. Like, it was just so much. But for 9 hours, I just let it go down. She was never offered lunch. She was never offered dinner. Her meds was wrong. All of this stuff is happening. And I'm just soaking it up. But that room thing, I took all of that stuff that I had been swallowing for 9 hours. It went. And that lady called security on me. She sure did. Yes, she did. All right, I got to get back in the book, y'all. Let's get back in the book so we can go. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Now you know the story, Foxy. Yeah, I didn't give Foxy the rundown. I told her I had a story to tell her, but I told her I was going to wait till I went live to tell her. So now you know the story, Foxy. That's what happened while I was in the ER. Because Foxy is texting me while I'm near. Like, what's going on? I'm like, girl, like, I'm giving real short answers because by this time I'm over it. Over it. All right. Because we live in such a mind-dominated culture, most modern art, architecture, music, and literature are devoid of beauty, of inner essence, with very few exceptions. The reason is that the people who create those things cannot, even for a moment, free themselves from their mind. So they are never in touch with that place within where true creativity and beauty arise. The mind left to itself creates monstrosities. And not only in art galleries, look at our urban landscapes and industrial wastelands. No civilization has ever produced so much ugliness. Realizing pure consciousness. Is presence the same as being? When you become conscious of being, what is really happening is that being becomes conscious itself. When being becomes conscious itself, that's presence. Since being, consciousness, and life are synonymous, we could say that presence means consciousness becoming conscious of itself, or life attaining self consciousness. But don't get attached to the words. And that's where a lot of us get like we want to understand all of this stuff, right? Sometimes being, presentness, consciousness allows you to not need to understand. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes being, presentness, and consciousness means that you don't need to understand. There is nothing that you need to understand before you can become present. I do understand what you just said, but it seems to imply that being, the ultimate transcendental reality, is not yet complete, that it is undergoing a process of development. Does God need time for personal growth? Yes, but only as seen from the limited perspective of manifested universe. In the Bible, God declares, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and I am the living one. In the timeless realm where God dwells, which is your home, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega are one. And the essence of everything that ever has been and ever will be is eternally present in an unmanifested state of oneness and perfection, totally beyond anything the human mind can ever imagine and comprehend. And when I hear this and think about this, it reminds me of a song. It's the God in me. God is literally in you. I am that I am. God is in you. You are a manifestation of the universe. You are a creation of a higher being. You are the higher being because it is inside of you. It is a presence. Whatever that presence is, without judgment, that is the God in you. Here, even consciousness, which is the light emanating from the eternal source, seems to be subject to a process of development. But this is due to our limited perception. It is not so in absolute terms. Nevertheless, let me continue to speak for a moment about the evolution of consciousness in this world. Everything that exists has being, has God essence. I'm going to say that again for all of us that judge others and things like the little kitties that are getting on my nerves outside. I'm going to say that again. Everything, not some things, not most things, everything that exists, the birds, the bees. I still don't understand why, and it's not for me to understand why, but I'm glad that they don't reside in my home. Rats, roaches. Everything that exists has being, has God essence, has some degree of consciousness. This just hit my spirit. One of the things that we are kind of taught is that there's good and evil, that there's this right and wrong. It's all the same. Good is evil. Right is wrong. Wrong is right. Evil is, it's all the same. Our human minds have a need to categorize, to try to simplify life, the wonderment, the amazement. Our human mind, our human beingness needs to quantify time, space, place. That is a human need that we have. And so we label things. Race is not real. We made that a thing. It's not a reality, though. But because we make things, that's how we get stuck in these ruts of, well, that was good and that was bad. I like that. That was terrible. You're old. You should know better. You're too young to know that or do that. That is human behavior. That is not consciousness, though. Not at all. Even a stone, a rock, has rudimentary consciousness. Otherwise, it would not be. And its atoms and molecules would disperse. Yes, beautiful Shalom. We want everything to make sense. And we hold on to that so hard. You can't, everything is not going to make sense. It's not for you to understand every single thing. It's just not. And we want an explanation for everything. Everything is alive. The sun, the earth, the plants, the animals, the humans. All are expressions of consciousness in varying degrees. Consciousness manifesting as a form. Every single thing is on purpose, with a purpose. You will not eradicate the things of the earth that you do not like. That is why cancel culture is futile. Stop thinking that because a human being does human being things that you can't listen to their music anymore or you can't enjoy their art anymore. We are all dual. We all have the capability of having duality. There is no perfect human being. Stop doing that to people. Stop holding people's past against their now and their present and their future. If you don't like something, do something different. Turn away. But trying to rally people to cancel people, I just find that abhorrent in general. That is that mob mentality that we have created collectively. It is abhorrent. It is abhorrent. If you don't like something, you can do something different. You don't have to rally the troops because your feelings are hurt because you held this person on such a high pedestal and they did this thing. And now you're so destroyed that you got to clear out your playlist. You got to throw out your clothes and burn them all. You are never going to be happy because you are always going to be disappointed in human beings. Every human being is going to disappoint you. I promise you. Every human being is going to do something that is going to make you mad, that is going to break your heart. That is what we do to each other. We are all murderers. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on YouTube. We all have the ability to do terrible things to each other. It can be physically, it can be mentally, it can be spiritually, it can be emotionally. But every single human being does, even if you think you are perfect, Patty, you too have and or will either emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically do something to harm another human being, whether you are conscious of it or not. Because some people have mental disabilities that cause them to do things. And they might not be in a conscious state of mind, but consciousness is why they are doing it. Because guess what? The higher being needs that thing done. And we don't got to like the things that the higher being needs to get done. We're not going to like it. But those things have been done since the dawn of time and will continue after you are long gone out of here. This world will never be peaceful, ever. It doesn't mean you should stop trying. It doesn't mean you should create your own pockets of peace. It just means that in general, wars will always be waged. Terror will always terror. People will always do terrible things to other people. Once you get to the place where you realize that that is the reality that we will continue to live in generations beyond your present existence, you will then be able to live consciously, because you can't fix it. You can't fix it. It's not broken. It is the way of the world. It is the way the world is supposed to run. Like, it's supposed to happen. I don't have to like the earthquake that happened and it took so many lives. I can do research. I can learn about earthquakes. I can try to do things to help the earth heal. But there's going to be a tornado. There's going to be mass M's in the world because consciousness needs those things to happen. Babies will still be born. The bugs are going to keep bugging. The trees are going to keep treeing. The grass is going to keep grassing. And life is going to keep lifing. The buildings will fall down. New ones will be built. Life will keep lifing. It did it before you. It's doing it now. It will do it after you. Once you get to that space where you're comfortable enough to say, there are so many things I have no control over. The only thing that I have a little bit of control over is my consciousness, my being, my avatar. It will stop you from judging so harshly other people. And so I'll say this to white fragility nurse. I'm not going to apologize to your face, but you might see this one day and be like, oh, that's that girl that was. Mm-hmm. I apologize to your consciousness. Not to you, because your behaviors were terrible. But I will apologize to your consciousness. That's all I can do. I can apologize to your consciousness that we were in two different spaces and your unawareness and your humanness couldn't see the pain that I was absorbing on my mom's behalf. So I apologize. All right, let's get back into it. Everyone falls short. Perfection can never be obtained. All right. Everything that exists has being, has God essence, has some degree of consciousness. Even a stone has rudimentary consciousness. Otherwise, it would not be. And its atoms and molecules would disperse. Everything is alive. The sun, the earth, plants, animals, humans. All are expressions of consciousness in varying degrees. Consciousness manifesting as form. The world arises when consciousness takes on shapes and forms, thought forms and material forms. Look at the millions of life forms on this planet alone. In the sea, on land, in the air, and then each life form is replicated millions of times. To what end? Is someone or something playing a game? A game with form? This is what the ancient seers of India asked themselves. They saw the world as Lila, a kind of divine game that God is playing. The individual life forms are obviously not very important in this game. In the sea, in the sea, most life forms don't survive for more than a few minutes after being born. The human form turns to dust pretty quickly too. And when it is gone, it is as if it had never been. Is that tragic or cruel? Only if you create a separate identity for each form. If you forget that its consciousness is God essence expressing itself in form, but you don't truly know that until you realize your own God essence as pure consciousness. That is the pointing fingers at people and these pointing back. The thing you're pointing your finger at, the thing you are judging, lives within you too. It resides within you too. Stop judging people. If a fish is born in your aquarium and you call him John, write out a birth certificate, tell him about his family history, and 2 minutes later he gets eaten by another fish, that's tragic. I'm waiting to see where Eckhart goes with this, but that was funny to me. That's tragic. But it's only tragic because you projected a separate self where there was none. You got hold of a fraction of a dynamic process, a molecular dance, and made a separate entity out of it. Consciousness takes on the disguise of forms until they reach such complexity that it completely loses itself in them. In present day humans, consciousness is completely identified with its disguise. It only knows itself as form and therefore lives in fear of the annihilation of its physical or psychological form. That's why so many people are scared to die. Why? I don't know. Because literally, the minute you were born, your expiration date exists. Like, it does. You just don't know when, but it's coming. Just accept it. Like, you gonna die. We're gonna all die. Hey Treya, how are you? Good morning, sunshine. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. We're finishing up chapter 5 of Eckhart. We got a few more pages, so let's see where we get to. This is the egoic mind, and this is where considerable dysfunction sets in. It now looks as if something had gone very wrong somewhere along the line of evolution. But even this is part of Lila, the divine game. Finally, pressure of suffering created by this apparent dysfunction forces consciousness to disidentify from form and awakens it from its dream of form. It regains self-consciousness, but it is at a far deeper level than when it lost it. This process is explained by Jesus in his parable of the lost son, who leaves his father's home, squanders his wealth, becomes destitute, and is then forced by his suffering to return home. When he does, his father loves him more than before. When he does, his father loves him more than before. The son's state is the same as it was before, yet not the same. It has an added dimension of depth. The parable describes a journey from unconscious perfection through apparent imperfection and evil to conscious perfection. Can you now see the deeper and wider significance of becoming present as the watcher of your mind? When you become present, you think about what you're thinking about. You think about your thoughts so that you are not necessarily so caught up in the why of life. Why is this happening? I need to understand it. I need to put it in a category. It doesn't make sense. You realize it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be. Mhm. Nothing has to make sense. It just has to be. Once you get to the space where you are just able to be, I promise you, you will be more at peace than you have ever even realized in your life. You will experience less boredom. You will not feel the need to always be on the go and the run and doing all of the things. You can just be present and look at the universe in wonderment of what it is made up of even your existence, the lines in your palm, how they are so much different than everybody else's. Like how does everybody else get a different print? Out of all of the beings, there are no two prints of alike, just like snowflakes. Like you will be in amazement at the world if you just allow yourself to be. Can you now see the deeper and wider significance of becoming present as the watcher of your mind? Whenever you watch the mind, you withdraw consciousness from mind forms, and it then becomes what we call the watcher or the witness. Consequently, the watcher, pure consciousness beyond form, becomes stronger, and the mental formations become weaker. When we talk about watching the mind, we are personalizing an event that is truly of cosmic significance. Through you, consciousness is awakening out of its dream of identification with form and withdrawing from form. This foreshadows, but is already part of, an event that is probably still in the distant future as far as chronological time is concerned. The event is called the end of the world. When consciousness frees itself from its identification with physical and mental forms, it becomes what we may call pure or enlightened consciousness or presence. This has already happened in a few individuals, and it seems destined to happen soon on a much larger scale. Although there is no absolute guarantee that it will happen, most humans are still in the grip of the egoic mode of consciousness, identified with their mind and run by their mind. That is why when your feelings are hurt, you want to hurt other people's feelings. That is why hurt people. That is why some people, not everybody, that is why some people live in the you did this to me, now I'm going to do this to you, instead of just having the ability to be present, to understand you have pain, you have hurt that I will not pick up and carry with me, and I have the ability to move forward with my life. That is why some people stay stuck in the past. They repeat a narrative to themselves about that past hurt, about that past pain, about that past trauma, and they live that every single day of their current day, their current life, their current being, because that pain body won't escape them. They don't want it to escape them. Some human beings enjoy pain. Some human beings need pain. Some human beings find comfort in pain. If they do not free themselves from their mind in time, that pain body, they will be destroyed by it. They will experience increasing confusion, conflict, violence, illness, despair, madness. Egoic mind has become like a stinking or sinking ship. A sinking ship, not stinking. A sinking ship. If you don't get off, you will go down with it. The collective egoic mind is the most dangerously insane and destructive entity to inhabit this planet. What do you think will happen on this planet if human consciousness remains unchanged? Already, for most humans, I'm going to pause right there. We see it on YouTube every day. In some spaces on YouTube, they have this place called a beef sector. That is the living out of the unconscious mind of human beings being their most terrible selves. They say terrible things. They hurt each other. They want to take what happens on the internet into the real world and hurt them in the real world. We see it. It has gone from taking the manifestation of human violence in real life and turning it to violence on the internet, violence on the web. Like, it has transformed into this space that we all exist in now. Already, for most humans, the only respite they find from their own minds is to occasionally revert to a level of consciousness below thought. Everyone does that every night during sleep. But this also happens to some extent through sex, alcohol, and other drugs that suppress excessive mind activity. If it weren't for alcohol, tranquilizers, antidepressants, as well as illegal drugs, which are all consumed in vast quantities, the insanity of the human mind would become even more glaringly obvious than it already is. I believe that if deprived of other drugs, a large part of the population will become a danger to themselves and others. That is why when some people don't take medication, they are violent, either physically, verbally, spiritually, or mentally to others, because they need medication to control it. They do. Excuse me, I need some Carmex. If y'all know, y'all know. The Carmex is necessary. These drugs, of course, simply keep you stuck in dysfunction. Their widespread use only delays the breakdown of the old mind structures and the emergence of higher consciousness. While individual users may get some relief from the daily torture inflicted on them by their minds, they are prevented from generating enough consciousness presence to rise above thought and so find true liberation. Falling back to a level of consciousness below mind, which is the pre-thinking level of our distant ancestors and of animals and plants, is not an option for us. There is no way back. If the human race is to survive, it will have to go on to the next stage. So, what I think he's saying is we've evolved from just being able to take a nap and reset. We've evolved from REM sleep and resetting and functioning properly. We have to consciously work on our mind because there's so much stuff, there's so much trauma, there's so much lived experiences that we have to be able to unpack in order to be present, in order to be conscious and aware. Consciousness is evolving throughout the universe in billions of forms. So even if we didn't make it, this wouldn't matter on a cosmic scale. No gain in consciousness is ever lost. So it will simply express itself through some other form. But the very fact that I am speaking here and you are listening or reading this is a clear sign that the new consciousness is gaining a foothold on the planet. Look at God. Look at God. I didn't know those words were going to be there. You didn't know unless you've read this before. Everything is in divine order, y'all. Everything. What we consider good, what we consider not good. It is all working together for the good of consciousness, of awareness, of God, of Allah. All of it is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Stop judging. There is nothing personal in this. I am not teaching you. You are consciousness, and you are listening to yourself. There is an Eastern saying, the teacher and the taught together create the teaching. I already told y'all, I got 5-year-old babies that teach me stuff every single day. I would not be an effective leader if I were not able to learn from others. If you think you know everything and nobody has anything to give you, no matter what your position is, you're failing. I promise you, you are failing. In any case, the words in themselves are not important. They are not the truth. They only point to it. I speak from presence, and as I speak, you may be able to join me in that state. Although every word that I use has a history, of course, and it comes from the past, as all language does. The words that I speak to you now are carriers of the high energy frequency of presence, quite apart from the meaning they convey as words. Silence is an even more potent carrier of presence. So when you read this or listen to me speak, be aware of the silence between and underneath the words. Be aware of the gaps. Listen to the silence. Wherever you are is an easy and direct way of becoming present. Even if there's noise, there is always some silence underneath and in between the sounds. I'm gonna tell y'all this. There's in my office, I have it's an old building, and the heater wants to come on in my office, but it makes it too hot. So the temperature is down. But because the building is so old, there's steam that builds up. And when the steam builds up, the technicians told me it has to burst. So it makes these loud banging noises on my radiator in my office. The first day it happened, I was like, what is going on? Make it stop. I can't focus. By the end of the day, I got present with the noise in my office. Y'all, listen. So much so that I couldn't hear it anymore. I knew it was there, but when it came on, I didn't focus on it being there. I was still able to be present and do my work. And when people come into my office, they will be like, do you hear that noise? I'll be like, child, me and that noise are best friends now. It's part of the office. They was like, well, how do you concentrate? Because I don't focus on it. I don't hear it. If it's between the noise or the heat, I choose noise. The noise needs to happen. The steam needs to let go of itself. I can choose the steam releasing heat, or I can choose the steam releasing noise. I choose noise. And I choose to be present enough to turn it off. When you are in situations and spaces where the noise is overwhelming for you, breathe in, breathe out, and turn it off. Not physically, mentally. You are equipped with tools that you don't even know you have to turn the noise, the distractions of the world off. You have the capability to be present, to not judge, to not point fingers, to turn the noise off. Listening to the silence immediately creates stillness inside you. Only the stillness in you can perceive the silence outside. And what is stillness other than presence? Consciousness free from thought forms? Here is the living realization of what we have been talking about. Christ. We're almost done, you guys. It's been over 2 hours, but we're almost done. 2 more pages. Christ, the reality of your divine presence. Don't get attached to any one word. You can substitute Christ for presence if that is more meaningful to you. You can say a higher being. You can say the universe. Don't get caught up in words. When people want to debate specific words, if I spoke a different language, it would be another word. Stop getting caught up in man-made forms like words and time and race, right? Christ is your God essence, or the self, as it is sometimes called in the East. The only difference between Christ and presence is that Christ refers to your indwelling divinity, regardless of whether you are conscious of it or not. Whereas presence means you've awakened the Christ within you. You've awakened the divinity. We all have Christ. It doesn't mean that everybody is in tune and in touch with it. Many misunderstandings and false beliefs about Christ will clear if you realize that there is no past or future in Christ. To say that Christ was or will be is a contradiction in terms. Jesus was. He was a man who lived 2,000 years ago and realized divine presence, his true nature. And so he said, before Abraham was, I am. He did not say, I already existed before Abraham was born. That would have meant that he was still within the dimension of time and form identity. The words I am used in a sentence that starts in the past tense indicate a radical shift, a discontinuity in the temporal dimension. It is a Zen-like statement of great profanity. Jesus attempted to convey directly, not through discursive thought, the meaning of presence, of self-realization. He had gone beyond the consciousness dimension governed by time into the realm of timelessness. The dimension of eternity had come into this world. Eternity, of course, does not mean endless time, but no time. I just had a thought. One of my favorite content creators, as controversial as he is, because his content still exists, passed away recently. And one of the things that he used to say was, I'm 38 going on eternity. And when I just read that, it just made me think of him. Rest in peace, Sinful to P. Thus, the man Jesus became Christ, a vehicle for pure consciousness. And what is God's self-determination in the Bible? Did God say, I have always been and I will always be? Of course not. That would have given reality to past and future. God said, and this is what you should say to your inner being. God said, I am that I am. No time here, just presence. I am that I am. The second coming of Christ is a transformation of human consciousness, a shift from time to presence, from thinking to pure consciousness, not the arrival of some man or woman. If Christ were to return tomorrow in some externalized form, what could he or she possibly say to you other than this? I am the truth. I am divine presence. I am eternal life. I am within you. I am here. I am now. Never personalize Christ. Never personalize Christ, God, Buddha. Never personalize a higher being. Don't make Christ into a form identity, into a human thing like you are. Avatars, I call my body an avatar because we all have an avatar. Avatars, divine mothers, enlightened masters, the very few that are real are not special as persons, as human beings. Without a false self to uphold, defend, and feed, they are more simple, more ordinary than the ordinary man or woman. Anyone with a strong ego will regard them as insignificant or more likely not see them at all. If you are drawn to an enlightened teacher, it is because there is already enough presence in you to recognize presence in another. There were many people who did not recognize Jesus or the Buddha, as there are and always have been many people who are drawn to false teachers. They exist on YouTube. Y'all believe some of the things these people tell y'all like it's the Holy Grail. People can get on here and say all kind of things about all kind of things, and y'all pay for courses and like it's the most amazing. YouTube is the most fascinating thing ever. You got some of y'all take everything somebody says as truth, and you know nothing about them as a being, as spirit. You just take their word, their literally, there are avatars that exist on YouTube that so many people follow and believe in that they will cause discord in the real existence of the world because they have so much faith and belief in this avatar of a thing on this computer and this free app. Like, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. That this free app can cause discord in human beings' real lives. But it's true, because even this free app, guess what? It's part of consciousness. It's part of presence. It is the thing that is connecting us right now. Egos are drawn to bigger egos. Darkness cannot recognize light. Only light can recognize light. So don't believe that the light is outside of you or that it can only come through one particular form. If only your master is an incarnation of God, then who are you? Any kind of exclusivity is identification with form, and identification with form, with human beings, with other people means you are ego driven. I don't care how you disguise it. Your favorite pastor, if that is your identification, if that is your truth, it means your ego is in the way. It means that you are believing externally instead of internally. You have to believe in your higher power, in your God essence. Use the master's presence to reflect your own identity beyond name and form back to you, and to become more intensely present yourself. You will soon realize that there is no mine or yours in presence. Presence is one. Presence is. Presence means I am that I am. Presence is simple. When life is complicated and you need a bunch of excuses and explanations, you are not being present. You are not in the now. BJ Des, good morning, sunshine. Hey, sis. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. Child, we've been here for over 2 hours. We're about to be done. I'm about to finish this up. But thank you for being here, boo. I missed you. I think I'm at a space where I can start coming live on weekends now. Only on weekends. I can't do weekdays at all, you guys. Ever. Like not no. I don't like ever. Ever is a mighty long time. But right now I can't do weekdays. But I think I can finally do weekends. So I'll be here tomorrow morning too. I don't know what time, but it will probably be really early because I got somewhere to be. All right, this is our last paragraph in chapter 5, and we are going to wrap this baby up. Group work can also be helpful for intensifying the light of your presence. Y'all, guess what? This is the group work, right? This is the group work. We are literally gathered together today to work, to listen, to grow, hopefully, and gain knowledge about being in the now, living in the present, and just being and understanding our inner being and our godness. A group of people coming together in a state of presence generates a collective energy field of great intensity. It not only raises the degree of presence of each member of the group, but it also helps to free the collective human consciousness from its current state of mind dominance. This will make the state of presence increasingly more accessible to individuals. However, unless at least one member of the group is already firmly established in it and thus can hold the energy frequency of that state, the egoic mind can easily reassert itself and sabotage the group's endeavors. Although group work is invaluable, it is not enough, and you must not come to depend on it. That's why, I don't know if beautiful Shalom is still here. Sis, you got to do the work for you every day, every single day. And I know you are there. You are doing it. Keep doing it. Don't depend on externals. Don't depend on me coming live. Do it. And when we come together collectively, let's talk about what we did. That's why I shared the story with you guys about what happened in the hospital. We can't always stay in the now and in the presence. There will be situations that force us, move us out of that. But it doesn't mean we can't grow from it and learn from it and apologize when we come out of pocket, right? Nor must you come to depend on a teacher or a master or a pastor, except during the transitional period when you are learning the meaning and practice of presence. That is the end of chapter 5, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I promise, and I'm not perfect, and I sometimes break promises, but it is always my intent to keep a promise. I will be back tomorrow with chapter 6. Let's see. Chapter 6 is the inner body. So we about to go on the inside, y'all. So if y'all ain't ready, be ready. We about to go on the inside, the inner body. Okay? The power of now. This book, along with the work that we did this summer with the I can't even think of the name of it. The beautiful child. I'm sorry. the work we did this summer has really helped me a lot. I pray that it has helped you in some way, shape, or form. And if not, make sure you go back to the elevation station. All of that work is in there. We're talking about mindfulness. We're talking about consciousness. We're talking about eating properly, maintaining these avatars that we live in so that we can be the best version of ourselves, whatever ourselves are. We are accepting who we are as human beings. We are not trying to change others to be what we want them to be. We are not judging others and pointing fingers no more. We won't do that over here. We're not doing that no more. We are changing our mind, and we are hopefully helping others change theirs. I love you. I thank you. You all have a blessed weekend. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Rest in peace, King. I will see you guys very early in the morning. I love you. Bye. Mwah.